Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Going Rounds Podcast. We are on episode 90. 10 away from 100. I guess that means maybe I should probably think of something cool to do for 100, or does it really matter? I don't know, but I just realized it's on 90, which means in a little bit we'll be hitting episode 100. I mean, I guess it is a milestone. That's kind of cool. You know, kind of like UFC does the milestones, as you can see back there. I can't even point at the right spot. Right there. UFC 100, UFC 300 is coming up. And, yeah, the milestone stuff. It's the big round numbers. You get to triple digits. And then you start counting every 100, because if you count anything else, it gets weird. You know, anniversaries are like, sure, 10 years, 25 years, 50, whatever, stuff like that. But I don't know, episodes and things like this where I plan on continuing on. 100 is a nice round number. I guess it's a spot to celebrate 100 episodes. It's pretty cool. I've been going just over a year now. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess we can figure it out. But episode 90, I went off on a little tangent there I didn't realize I was on 90. It's kind of crazy, but what's up, everybody? I'm here. Time to talk some MMA and combat sports. There's a lot of things going on, movies and shit like that. If you saw the thumbnail and read the details and the caption and stuff, I mean, Roadhouse was released today. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. I'm only maybe about halfway through it. Had to finish all the prep work for this. And then, I got other things going on. I got home at a certain time, so I only had a certain amount of time to get things ready. I usually try to eat before this so I can have dinner and not be with my stomach growling while I'm in here. And I like to focus. So if I'm hungry, I'm going to be like not focusing and shit. But yeah, so limited time. But while we were having dinner and stuff like that, I started watching it. And so far, it's pretty good. But we'll touch on that in a minute. Other things a bunch of other stuff going on, little news here and there, things like that. So we got a lot to talk about. But personally, this week has been just random, whatever, normal week, no big deal. But except the fact that, why is my clock wrong? This fucking clock's wigging out, man. Fucking thing says 8:30, it's 7:03. And I've said it like twice in the past 3 days. I don't get it. I don't know. Whatever. I just noticed it. So ignore the clock. It's not 8:30. It's 7 if you're in Arizona. But speaking of Arizona, I'm all over the place. But U of A got to win today. March Madness going on. March Mania, whatever the fuck we want to call it anymore. But yeah, gotta represent. So got the U of A hat on today. But what I was saying was, personally, a little bit of a change here in the household. I know I spoke about our older dog, Jade, passing away not too long ago. It was a few weeks ago or whatever. And it seems it seems like a very short time. And, obviously we had her for a long time. We kind of knew she was not doing well, and then it was time to let her go. So that happened, and, things went that way. Our previous dog, before we had Jade, we had a dog named Jody as well, and she passed away, unfortunately, just while we were at work. And so my wife shows up and sees, had a weird feeling, shows up at the house instead of going to the gym like she would normally, and then she comes home to find that Jody had passed away, which, again, we knew she was pretty old and seemed like, here and there she wouldn't be doing well, but that happened. And then we were like, I don't know if we can get another dog. Like, we'll just keep Jade and that's it, and blah, blah, blah. That's what we said. And then Benny came into our lives. And, it was just by random. And we just went and looked at dogs just to kind of like be like, we just lost a dog, and that was whatever. So we're like always thinking it's going to be a while. We're going to take our time. Well, then Jade passes away, and we said the same thing. I always say it, and I do mean it. Don't get me wrong. I do mean it. But sometimes things just happen. And we were already thinking, okay, at some point in time, we are going to get another dog, because Benny's used to at least messing with Jade a little bit here and there, and then he would leave her alone, and it would be fine. But, like, He's sitting there. I think he knew something was up and something was weird. She's not around. So we went and looked at dogs just for the hell of it. And guess what? We got a new one. So am I surprised? No, I'm not surprised. And I know people give me shit all the time. I'm a big dude. You would think, Mexican guy, a bunch of tattoos. I'm going to probably have a pit or something. Don't get me wrong. Back in the day, I did have a pit bull. But not anymore. Now I got little dogs. And I'll tell you, I love having little dogs. I don't care. Since we got Benny, Jody was kind of a mid-sized dog. Jade was a bigger dog. Not real big, but bigger. And Benny's a little dog. He's a Jack Russell, probably mixed with something else too. But, he's not very big. So now we have a new addition. And for now, and I say for now because who knows? We've thought about changing his name. We just got him on Monday. So this is Jack. And he's another probably Jack Russell mix of some sort. I'm sure he has Jack Russell in him for sure. Has a lot of similarities to Benny. But yeah, that's Jack. So that was him on his first little walk that we gave him, I think on Tuesday. Because Monday was hectic. We, trying to settle him in and get everything together. Having a puppy's crazy. But yeah, with Jade gone, she was a lot of work to take care of because she had a lot of health problems and stuff like that. And there's no way we're getting another dog while our attention is on her. So it was time to let her go. And it didn't take long. And I only say that because it's just sometimes timing for me. I overthink things. I overanalyze things. I overthink it. I never just roll with it and do it. So I'm always like, damn it, we're supposed to wait. We're supposed to wait a while, a couple months at least. But it is what it is. Sometimes you got to fill that void. You don't have the second dog there. You feel like Benny's like lonely and doesn't have anybody to, play with or nothing. And yeah, so we went ahead and went through with it. So this is Jack. He's our new little, don't let the cuteness fool you. This little motherfucker, I wanted to name him Scrappy because he's scrappy as hell. He likes to nibble at your fingers and he gets into it with Benny and starts growling like he's a big bad boy. He's just a little guy. So it's hilarious though, but who knows? We might have to change his name to Scrappy or Jake because we keep calling him Jake and I don't know why. His fucking name is Jack right now. We changed his name because the name he came with was Shortbread. Like, what the fuck? Shortbread? Like, that's stupid. So we had to change his name. Benny came with his name, and he's full on a Benny. My wife says, but you said if I could take the dog home today. I did say that. I did. That's what I'm saying, though. I shouldn't have gone looking because that's what happens, all right? I'm a big softie sometimes, okay? So it is what it is. So that's Jack. He's our new little guy. He's cool as shit. And hopefully we get him trained up nice and quick. And, and he winds up being like Benny where we can just chill and hang out with him. And the only time he gets crazy is when somebody's at the door. They hear a noise at the door and they think we got to break him of that too. But most of the time, Benny's perfect. So hopefully we can get little Jack that way, i.e. or / Scrappy, I should say. We'll see if he keeps his name or not. But yeah, I just wanted to share that a little bit. That's my own little personal news for the moment. Little Jack. I was gonna bring him in here, but it's a lot of work, and I don't want, I'm not gonna be able to get up and down. I don't want to make my wife come in here. She's got to deal with all of it all day. So while she's working and everything like that, so I appreciate her for all that. And I don't want to make her get up and bring him in here and stuff like that. I'll bring him in here sometime in the near future. So that's my news, personal news for now. If you're here listening, I appreciate it. The chat's open if you want to talk about anything I am discussing throughout the show. But like I said, we got a lot to get to. I got to take a sip. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you know when I release videos or I'm live, anything like that. And all my social media is going on right down there. X is always up when I point to it. I don't know why. I'm not on X that often / Twitter, but I'm on Facebook and Instagram the most. That's where all the news comes out. I mean, I know Twitter does too, but I just feel like you get a little more out of Facebook and Instagram. I know people are like, Facebook, what the fuck? It's a good place to get breaking news, and a lot of, you get a little extra there. You know, you don't have to click on a link all the time. Sometimes you can get just a picture and some words, and then you only got to get to that one spot. So Facebook's good for that. Instagram's good for everything as well. And then TikTok, I'm on there. You can watch some funny videos or reaction videos, stuff like that. I throw it up on there too, so go check it out. Go follow me everywhere. I always got to remind people in case anybody's new or wants to check it out. So let's get to the good stuff. Let's get to combat sports news, where we always start. Let's go. And we're going to start with Roadhouse, because that just got released today. And it's on Amazon Prime. So if you have Amazon Prime, you can watch it. And so far, so good. I mean, my only critique so far is not only a couple little things. It's nothing massive, you know what I mean? Movies are movies. It is what it is. You have your own opinions about things. As you can see, we got Conor McGregor. Jake Gyllenhaal's the star. McGregor has a pretty decent sized role in it, from what I understand, everything that I've heard. And I just got to the point where he makes an appearance and they're starting the storyline off. So I was like, okay, time to pause it, hit the podcast before I get fully immersed in the Conor McGregor portion of this movie. But you can also see Post Malone. And Post Malone was in, what was that movie? With Mark Wahlberg. Cowboy was in it. Anyway, the first scene has Posty and Cowboy trying to jump Mark Wahlberg while they're in prison. So it seems like Posty's always in the beginning of movies, and then that's it. This one, same kind of thing. He's in a fight. You know, it's like a Fight Club type thing, and people are betting and stuff, and then yeah, he's in it in the beginning. So if you like Post Malone, he's in it. But my only critiques of this movie so far, well, about halfway through, or a little less than halfway through, there's some CGI stuff, you know what I mean? Like things that they put together to, it's like, it's a little clunky. I would like it to be a little more smooth. It seems a little clunky, that's all. But that's nothing, you know, it is what it is. Action movies, fight movies, something like that. You get what you get with those kinds of things. So that's my only real problem with it so far. Besides, the only other little thing is that most of the fucking guys in this movie seem real dumb and real stupid. And I get it. You watch the old Roadhouse, you kind of get the same thing. You know, these big bumbling idiots that want to fight all the time and causing fucking trouble and ruckus and all this other shit everywhere, throwing bottles and being dumb. It's just like, dude, this is overtly stupid, like moronic, idiotic shit. But it makes for, you know, it makes you, I guess, character building. It makes you feel like, okay, it's cool to laugh and enjoy watching these guys get their ass whooped. So so if you don't like that kind of stuff, Roadhouse might not be for you. But as I said, it's a remake of back in the day, with Patrick Swayze. You know, I liked the movie. I wasn't that much into it. It wasn't really something that I was that into, but I watched it a bunch of times anyway, because that's what you did back in the day. You didn't have internet like we do now back when Roadhouse was out. So it was like one of those things, you watch movies over and over again, whether you fully like them or not. So I feel old talking about not having internet. But yeah, so Roadhouse, I mean, so far so good. I'm into it. You know, I'm gonna see how it progresses, and I'll you know, come back and talk about it again next week when I fully watch the whole thing. But so far so good. And yeah, I'm gonna continue to watch it and check it out. But Conor, you know, he's been in the news lately because obviously with the premiere of the movie, lots of media happening, lots of things going on. He's getting interviewed left and right, and of course his fight career is going to come up in the midst of all that. And it's been pretty interesting listening to the things he's saying. You know, he's Ariel Helwani brought it up in his show from yesterday, that, you know, he drops little nuggets here and there, and it goes right over these people's heads because they don't follow MMA. They're not in the mindset to talk about MMA that in depth. So some of the things that Conor says, you know, hardcore fans, they know what he's saying, or people that follow the UFC know what he's talking about. But these people don't. So it's weird. He's gotten in depth in some of these interviews, and gone a little off track. But he said some things. So, you know, he's taking on a weird look too. Like, I don't understand this look from him. He's got this stupid little hat on with his hair sticking out the front. His eyebrows look real weird. I don't get it. Like, I see that obviously his background is blurred on Helwani's show, and then another show he was like this, and it's just strange. And, you know, he doesn't sound all fucked up, but he does have this, like, strange rambling portion of him that just and that's Conor. It is, you know, that is how he is. But, you know, some of these interviews, he's gone a little wacko and gone off the rails. And, of course, everyone's always like, oh, he's on coke. Look at him. He's all coked out. Yeah, I mean, we kind of know that about him. So that's kind of what happens, and that's how he is. So... and that's some of the things that he does, and what can you say? But this is just a strange look, and all I can say, and I'm dating myself here again because I mentioned this to Dylan, who is my daughter's boyfriend, and he had no idea who I was talking about. I was like, dude, Conor's giving Boy George vibes right now. Like, what the fuck? And I say that because look at this. maybe it's not real clear. Maybe you're not connecting those dots too well. Sorry, Conor. I don't know what to tell you, bro. This look is weird. I just thought it was funny. I couldn't get it out of my head, so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna find a good picture that represents what I'm talking about. And that's the first thing I thought of. Why? I don't even like Boy George. I don't think about this person all the time. Never really heard of him for a long time, and I knew who he was. I just didn't know who he was. You know what I mean? But Conor with this look, man, I don't get it. But anyway, I'll lay off Conor with that one. This is the look we're used to. Conor, he went off talking about how he's coming back. So, and you know, the date has always been the same. Since he started talking, you know, about when he was coming back and saying that it's finalized. If you remember, New Year's Eve, he puts out this video and says, sitting at a table where he, like, is talking to random people and, like, drinking a drink and looking like just Conor with the shaggy hair and stuff, and just, like, nonchalant. It's like, that's right, I'm back. Coming back June 29th for International Fight Week, UFC in Vegas, blah, 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 blah. And he announces it. Well, we never get a confirmation from the UFC. And everyone was like, wait, what? This is fake, blah, 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 blah. This is bullshit. I said it myself. I'm like, International Fight Week's never in June. How the fuck are you going to say International Fight Week is in June 29th? Well, that got confirmed shortly after, that International Fight Week is on June 29th. That's when the fight will be of that week. So it is the last week of June, which is strange. It's usually the first week of July or the second week of July, somewhere in there. But, you know, Conor went off and, you know, said what he said, but Dana just continuously bats that down and says, nope, that's not the, you know, Conor needs to show us that he's ready to fight. He needs to be in a full camp. I just realized that this picture is fucked up. And I fixed this already once, so what the hell's going on here? I don't like it when it's not full. There we go. Fix it real quick. Thank God I can do that fast. Anyway, all you saw too, I'm sure, is just a picture get bigger, but it bugs me. So anyway, so the date has never changed, and he's saying it again. The opponent, he's sticking to his gun, saying, you know, no matter what he said in the past, he's always come back to the fact that it's Michael Chandler. You know, they were supposed to fight after the Ultimate Fighter season that they coached. Never happened. Kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed, and finally, and everyone's thinking UFC 300 for sure. It's got to be Conor. They're gonna look for a big fight then. Blah blah blah. UFC 300's out the window. Even Conor's saying it now, out the window. And you know, he sounded disgruntled. He sounded pissed off. He sounded like he was just sick of all of it. He says, I keep fighting. I keep asking for a fight. I keep asking for a fight. I'm here. I'm ready. I'm ready to go. Let's do this. My patience is wearing thin. If you remember that video from the night of boxing with, who the fuck was it? I don't know. Whoever was fighting in Riyadh, and he's there and he's talking about it. And he looks pissed off, and he looks irritated. He's sick of it. He's over it. Who knows? Maybe the UFC knows something we don't know. Maybe Dana White knows something we don't know. Like, Conor's maybe enjoying too much of Dana's last name, but Maybe that's what they know. Maybe they're waiting for him to kick the habit real quick so that they can get back to business. But now, still, Dana has not confirmed. Conor says he's got the call. Everything's set up and ready, but the UFC hasn't confirmed. But when it comes down to it, I do believe that this is going to be it. I feel like it keeps coming up. It keeps being it. And yeah, I feel like it's going to happen. So, what else can you say? Until we hear the word from the UFC, I guess we can't really put too much stock into it. But I feel like this time it feels a little different. And I think that this time I'm believing it. And I said before, I'm not going to believe it till just like everybody else. I'm not going to believe it till the UFC announces it. But the UFC likes to wait as long as they can. So they'll do it on their terms. And in spite of whoever decided to release it ahead of time, they're not going to punish Conor except for not tell everybody until they decide it's time. So Conor hopefully coming back June 29th against Michael Chandler, International Fight Week in Vegas. It's going to be nuts in Vegas for that week if this is the truth and if this is what happens. And I was planning on going for International Fight Week again. And then I kind of put that on the back burner because we're going to take a family trip to Vegas with the girls who haven't gone with us yet. My daughters haven't been to Vegas with us since they've been 21. And that's just for random circumstances. And, but yeah, now we plan to kind of impromptu trip. So we're going to go. And it's going to be soon, like in a few weeks. So with that happening, I was like, don't need to go to International Fight Week. No big deal. But if Conor's fighting, I might have to change those plans. But I don't know. I guess we'll play it by ear. So Conor coming back, hopefully June 29th against Michael Chandler. We've been waiting. It's time to go. It's time to fight. So let's do it. Go watch Roadhouse. Tell me what you think. If you've seen it already, throw it in the chat. Tell me what you thought of it. If you haven't, let me know after you watch it. See what's up. But tying all this together, talking about fighters and things that they're doing, Roadhouse in general, fighters moving over into the Hollywood scene. Ronda Rousey as well was supposed to be in Roadhouse. That was a confirmed thing for a little while, and she was supposed to play, I believe, the part that Jake Gyllenhaal's playing right now. But that would have changed up the storyline quite a bit, and they decided to drop that, especially after she dropped those last two fights. And I just think that the clout and the hype around her kind of died out a little bit, and they decided to go a different direction. Roadhouse has been talked about being made for so long, and it just never got done until now. So Ronda, though, is in the news right now. This is breaking because I just saw this earlier. When I saw the post, it said 20 minutes prior. She was in an Instagram live talking about the release of her memoir that's coming out soon. And in it, in the Instagram live, she said, "I was forced to leave fighting due to a history of concussions. When I was faster, stronger, more skilled, and had a better understanding of the art than ever before, it was really hard. It was a really hard decision to understand, one that my body made for me." So that's like a snippet / quick little tidbit of what she said. Her last fight was against Amanda Nunes, and she got knocked out there. She got knocked out by Holly Holm, that head kick knockout. So two really bad knockouts in a row. She had some time in between, but she did come back after the Holly Holm head kick KO and fights Amanda Nunes, gets knocked out again. So the full thing she said was, "I'd like people to understand my reasons and motivations behind things. I was forced to leave fighting when I was faster, stronger, more skilled, and had a better understanding." Okay, so everything she said there before, she elaborated, though. She said, "I think there was just so much to that loss to Amanda Nunes that I couldn't talk about in a form." Maybe she's talking about the Holly Holm fight. "In a form of an interview, an article, or anything like that, or that would be several filters between my words and people reading it. So much had to do with having so many concussions when I was in judo before," which she was world-class judoka. she said, before I even got into MMA, I couldn't talk about it all when I was doing MMA because it would literally put a target on my head, and I might not have been allowed to compete any further. So she had concussion problems before. Now, haters and everyone's going to say, oh yeah, she's just making excuses for why she got knocked out, blah, blah, blah. I just think that she was a good enough fighter against a competition that was given to her at the time, and that's what made her a star. In today's era, she would not have gotten that far because she didn't have the skills and she was exposed. So, I mean, it's a damn shame, and it's it sucks to say all that, but that is the truth. So, and a lot of this leads into what I'm going to talk about next, which is the UFC settlement of the big antitrust lawsuit that was being held against them. I haven't talked about this a lot because there's just so much to it. A lot of it has to do with fighter pay, health insurance, taking care of the fighters after they're retired, after all of the pain and struggles and agony and the shit they put their bodies through. And the UFC just kind of says, you're retired? Thank you. Peace out. That's kind of what happens. Nothing. They don't have a pension. They're not covered by insurance at all. Even while they're fighting, if something happens in training and they're not like one of the UFC's biggest stars, it's on them. They got to figure out how to pay for it. They're independent contractors, so they got to figure out how to pay for it and all that. So it sucks. And that's still the way it is now. But the UFC has reached a settlement to bring an end to the antitrust lawsuits by former fighters, agreeing to pay out $335 million. The company anticipates the payment will be tax deductible. So right away, I mean, you get sued for an exorbitant amount of money, and then it's tax deductible. Like, you got a hell of a deal there. I mean, Jesus. So anyway, Kung Lee was one of the main guys in, heading up this lawsuit, along with Nate Marquardt and a bunch of other guys, old UFC guys, legends and whatnot. But yeah, with TKO behind them, they got more legal power. They got more money to throw around and to throw at this problem. So I assume that's what got it figured out. The UFC was powerful enough. So yeah, it says, we are pleased to have reached an agreement to settle all claims asserted in both the Kung Lee and Raging Cajun Johnson was part of it too, class action lawsuits, bringing litigation to a close and benefiting all parties. So they say. I mean, the final terms of the settlement will be submitted to the court for approval. It says, we are pleased with the settlement, of course, and will disclose more when we file with the court in 45 to 60 days. So, I mean, basically what happened is they threw money at the problem, and they're going to get rid of it, and it's going to be tax deductible. So it's like, okay, you're not really losing out here, I don't think. And it didn't achieve what these former fighters were trying to achieve. Nate Marquardt went on a whole rant about it, saying this isn't what we wanted, this isn't what we were looking for, we didn't get what we wanted. But the money's going to go to help some of the fighters that need the help. Mark Coleman, who's been in the news lately for almost dying, saving his parents from a burning home that he's staying in his parents' house, the house he grew up in, and in the middle of the night he gets woken up by his dog because there's fire in the house, and he saves his parents. And then he almost dies while trying to save them, as well as trying to save his dog, who basically saved all their lives. And unfortunately, his dog passed away, and Mark Coleman was on his deathbed. But he's one of the guys that he had massive back problems, all kinds of issues with his body and head due to fighting in the UFC and fighting in general. And the UFC, I guess, helped him out here and there, but there's a lot of other fighters that just don't get the help that they might need. Tim Sylvia being one of them. There's a lot of controversy with his story and some of the things that he says, but he is one of the guys that has massive health problems due to his time fighting in the UFC. He was a former champion. So was Mark Coleman. That's just one of those things. And look at Ronda. Ronda had an acting career. She's in the WWE, which I don't understand how she was in the WWE. You want to talk about concussions? We all talk about how the WWE is fake, right? Scripted and whatnot. But the bumps and bruises and injuries that they sustained during that scripted event are real. And, people have died. People have gotten CTE to the point where they have, passed away from things that they did caused by it. Look at Chris Benoit. He unfortunately took the lives of his entire family and then himself. So there's just horrible things that have happened because of, the WWE and the rigorous schedule that they keep and the activities that they do. And they sustain concussions as well. Maybe not as often as fighters, but they definitely get them. So that's where the CT comes in, and then mix that with steroids. It's not good. And we all know steroids run rampant in both of these sports, if you want to call the WWE that. But yeah, and TKO is the head of both of these organizations, the WWE and the UFC. And this is a massive problem, and that's what this lawsuit was about. It was about fighter pay. It was about taking care of the fighters after they're done fighting for the organizations, and just taking care of these fighters in general. And it's sad to see that they didn't get anywhere. This was some of the biggest and most important events to happen to combat the UFC with their neglect of all of these issues and problems surrounding these fighters. And now it's just settled out of court. And yeah, $335 million, that's nothing to scoff at, but that's still not going to fix the problem. The fighters need to unite and unionize. That's the best plan I've heard of since then. That's why the MLB, the NFL, the NBA, they can all work together to help make things better for them while playing these sports. And they make crazy amounts of money. I get it. Stop crying, just dribble and shut up, or whatever else everybody wants to fucking say. But when it comes down to it, these athletes still put their lives and their bodies on the line, especially in fighting. And yeah, they chose to do that, but also it entertains us. Everyone, I do a podcast because of MMA. So of course I'm going to back these guys, and I'm going to feel like I have an obligation, because a lot of my life, a lot of my adult life has been spent being entertained by these people. And I have an affinity for these people and the way that they conduct themselves, in their sport, and how much they dedicate their lives and and everything to it. So that's the only reason why I go off on tangents about it and talk about it and stuff like that. So I didn't go in depth about this one because there's just too much, and it's a lot of legal shit. I don't know anything about it. What the fuck do I need to talk about it for, except to bring awareness to the fighters and fighter pay and the way that they're treated and all that stuff. And I talk about that no matter what. So I wanted to bring this one to light just because I felt like it was just shitty that it ended that way, because no further action will be taken until someone else brings up something legit that they can, fight things on again. So I guess we'll wait for that time. So let's move on to something else, because that's just going to bum me out. This might bum a lot of other people out, though, and I get it, because people hate this. But Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, that was announced. I talked about it already, but there was a lot of questions surrounding what was going to happen. There was TikToks made, stuff on social media, articles, everything about the rule set for this fight. And those things that were being said were that Jake Paul gets to wear headgear, that he gets to tag in his brother, and they get to double team against Mike Tyson, that Jake Paul there'd be drug testing for Tyson but not Jake Paul, and all this other shit, right? Crazy, stupid, outlandish shit. But people believed it, and I understand why, because if you're not immersed in this stuff, you might believe those kinds of things. But it sounded outlandish to the people that pay attention to this stuff, and like me, because I'm involved in all this and I do my podcast about these things. So none of that's true. Jake Paul came out on BS with Jake Paul, his podcast, this past week, the new episode, and he talks about this. And you know, I get it. A lot of you can't put a lot of stock into some of the things that Jake Paul says, but he does take boxing seriously. He takes his career path with boxing seriously, and I believe that. And no matter how much you hate him, you got to understand that he's gonna set the record straight on some things, and he fucks around a lot and talks a lot of shit. But in this aspect, I feel like I never thought from the get-go that would benefit him, considering he said he wanted to be he wanted to be taken legitimately in boxing and work his way up the way a boxer does. And then people give him shit for his opponents, and it's like, well, that's how boxing works. Look at Canelo's, record. Look at his former opponents when he was just coming up. Look at Ryan Garcia's opponents when he's coming up. Look at Floyd Mayweather's opponents, Deontay Wilder, all these guys, the big names in boxing. Look at their opponents when they first got involved and first became pros. This is how. Just because Jake Paul is a celebrity already, he has to, and his problem is he took all these big fights against big name MMA fighters, and that's what kind of screwed him. So he tries to change it up, and everybody still hates him, and I get it. But here's the thing: why would he fucking feed that bullshit even more by having special rules in a fight against Mike Tyson? I don't know. I guess the other thing is Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. was kind of a glorified sparring match. They kind of agreed not to go for the knockout against each other or even hit each other in the head very hard. I don't know. It was strange. But, that's the only other fight we've seen Mike Tyson in a long time. So I guess that's why people fed into that bullshit. But rest assured, this is supposed to be, they haven't announced yet whether it's going to be a professional match, but they're leaning towards that. It has to get sanctioned and all that, so they hasn't been fully confirmed yet. But either way, exhibition, professional match, either way, when it comes down to it, they're gonna fight straight up. So if anything changes, I'd be surprised. But it seems right now that's the way it's headed. That's the path it's taking. So I don't put anything past Jake Paul though. And I guess that's why people, I go back and forth. On it. The thing that really bothered me is that all they talked about on this podcast was like, how fucking dumb can people be? Really? You're so fucking dumb to believe this shit on TikTok? This is what Jake Paul was saying. You're so fucking dumb to believe the clout chasers and their bullshit stories and bullshit facts, and you're so dumb to believe that you shouldn't even be allowed to drive on the streets. I'm worried that people as dumb as you, if you believed all that, are driving on the streets, putting other people's lives in danger because you're that fucking stupid and you're that dumb. And I'm like, bro, you made your name off of bullshit. You made your name off of you did the dumbest shit in all your videos. Yeah, you were younger. You did the same thing, bro. You did the same fucking thing. When people were believing the bullshit you were throwing out there, when people were watching your stupid fucking videos, that's your fame was built on that bullshit. So how are you gonna everyone's just trying to get clout? I get it, yes, and I hate it too. I hate it when people throw facts out there that aren't facts. Maybe people hate it when I throw stuff out there thinking it's a fact and it's not, or it gets changed in the future. I get it. Not everybody's right 100% of the time, but people making these videos just to get clicks and views and shares and likes and all this other shit. Yeah, that's what social media is. That's what they do. That's how it works. And this motherfucker should know that more than anybody. So why are you gonna go out there and talk about how dumb all these dumb motherfuckers were the ones that made you famous? So shut the fuck up. Just shut up. Just clear the air, put out there what you want, and shut the fuck up and prove what you can do. Cause why are you gonna talk about how dumb people are when you're the dumbass that put out all that same kind of bullshit, maybe about a different topic or about something else? Same thing though, bro. You did the same shit. That's how you made your fucking celebrity life. Yeah, you're talented because you were able to get the views and the clicks and the likes. You still did shit for clout. So did your brother. So how the fuck are you gonna talk shit about everybody else that's out there just trying to make it? Fuck off. That's what pisses me off. And so I was kind of infuriated listening to that podcast at the moment, because I'm like, what, dude? Like, how can you sit here and act like you're above it all when the videos are coming out right now? Like, this is the guy fighting Mike Tyson, and then they show him doing some stupid dumb fucking dance in front of a camera, looking like some fucking, reject. I shouldn't even go into it, but he looks like a dumbass with his stupid hair and all this other shit, doing a dumb dance, and they're like, this is the guy fighting Mike Tyson, who's a fucking animal, talking about he'll eat your children and he'll fucking impregnate you with with a demon, and he's gonna fucking eat your heart and all this other crazy shit. 20 years old, look at both of them and see the difference. But Mike Tyson is 57 years old now, and Jake Paul is 27. That's a 30-year difference. That's what the problem is. That's what people have a problem with. I don't know. Gimmick or not, this fucking fight's happening, and it's gonna be the first of combat sports on Netflix live. And there's no pay-per-view. If you have Netflix, you're going to be able to watch this Saturday, July 20th when it happens. So if more things come out about all this, I'm going to talk about it again. If you don't like this portion, I'm sorry. Fast forward or wait till it's over and come back. But if you want to hear me spit my thoughts and opinions on it, keep listening. I appreciate it. So we'll get back to it when other things happen, when I find out more. But I thought these facts were interesting. I thought that talking about it a little bit would it makes me feel better. So, and also I wanted to talk shit to Jake for being that way. It's just dumb. So let's get back to some real shit. Bellator Championship Series or Champion Series is happening in Belfast, March 22nd, which would be tomorrow. So that's happening there. The Bellator name is sticking around, like I said before. PFL is, the organization that they fall under, but they're keeping Bellator name around for a little bit, still doing events under that name and whatnot. And apparently they're gonna come up with some fresh new looks and maybe even colors / logos or whatever for Bellator. That's what Don Davis, the president of PFL, was talking about yesterday on Helwani's show. But as far as this event goes, Bellator Champion Series in Belfast, Corey Anderson. Well, I'm about to knock everything over. Let's get to the card here. We got at the top, main event would be Corey Anderson versus Carl Moore for the light heavyweight world title. Let's see if Corey Anderson, the former UFC fighter, can make his way to finally getting that belt. This looks like his best bet from what I've heard and what I've seen of Carl Moore. So let's see what Corey Anderson can do. And I mean, depending on his opponent, a lot of times I'm rooting for Corey. I don't really like how he carries himself much. I mean, little bit overly religious and other things. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just, I don't know. It's a weird way the way he does things. So that's the main event. Then you got Patricio Pitbull, one of the Pitbull brothers, fighting for the featherweight world title against Jeremy Kennedy, a Canadian. Should be a decent fight. Pitbull, everyone's talking about Patricio having lost a couple steps here and there, not looking great in his past few fights. So that's your co-main event there, your second world title for this card. I got stuck reading something else. Then the next one, the next fight down would be Fabian Edwards, who is the brother of the welterweight champ for the UFC right now, Leon Edwards. He's fighting for the middleweight contendership, so he'd be the number one contender, fighting against Aaron Jeffrey here. Then you got James Gallagher versus Leandro Higo, which there's bad blood there. They have a history, and they're ready to kill each other, so that should be a damn good fight. James Gallagher, good Irish fighter, has made a decent name for himself in the Bellator, so there's that fight. And then moving further down, Not a lot of big names. You got Jeff Neal's brother, Grant Neal, fighting against Luke Traynor. That's a light heavyweight bout. Nathan Kelly versus Vegas Singh. Tough name. That's down there. And then also Nate Kelly fighting Jordan Elliott. That's funny that both their names are Nate Kelly technically. But yeah, that's about it. So I just wanted to cover that real quick because that is another event happening tomorrow night. You can check that out on DAZN. And they announced that they're going to be on Max. Bellator is going to be streamed on Max, formerly HBO Max. So I guess you can catch some of these events for Bellator over there if you want to watch it. It's just another way to watch. So let's move on to a recap of UFC Vegas 88. Tuivasa versus Marcin Tybura. This was a disappointing one for me, considering my fighter in this was Tuivasa. Man, no shoey for Ty. That's all I gotta say. If you know, you know. We'll get into it in a minute, but looking at the prelim card, I mean, it was a decent night of fights. I can't really talk too much shit. I didn't watch all of the fights, but I did catch, Ty's fight and a couple of the other ones on the main card. Some of the better fights at the bottom. Thiago Moises won versus Mitch Ramirez in a lightweight fight. It was a TKO by leg kicks. Thiago Moises has some vicious fucking leg kicks, and he got the stoppage 15 seconds into the third round against Mitch Ramirez. Jacqueline Amarim gets the win over Corey McKenna by armbar submission in the first round. That was a hell of an armbar, and that was a hell of a little scrap there. A lot of people thought Corey McKenna was gonna run through her, but Amarim is a badass, and she's a baddie. So go check out her Instagram if you want to find out what I'm talking about. Jacqueline Amarim. Yeah, that was a strawweight fight. So let's see, we had a split decision there, nothing crazy. Rafael Filio versus Ode Osborne. That was a submission win for Filio by rear naked choke in the first round. Chelsea Chandler, who, God, this girl, even my wife was like, what is wrong with this chick? She's fucking annoying. I hate to say it. She's the one from a while back, I said it on the last podcast, that went running when she was getting her ass whooped, and she just turned her back completely to her opponent, and from like past the midpoint of the cage, she just turned around, sprinted for the other side of the cage. It was crazy. But she fought Josane Nunez, and that was a unanimous decision win for Chelsea Chandler. Nothing impressive there. Then you got Mike Davis versus Natan Levy. Mike Davis gets a win in a catchweight fight over Natan Levy. Submission arm triangle choke in the second round. Then we get to the main card. We got GM3 Gerald Meerschaert Meerschaert, I guess. I found out everyone says Meerschaert because it's Meer, but it's actually pronounced Meerschaert. Whatever. If the first part of your name isn't as it looks and the last part of your name is Shart, let's just stick to GM3. He fought Brian Barberena, and he gets a submission win over Brian by face crank, which, it's kind of like a rear naked choke, but instead of being under the chin, it's across the chin. You can actually break someone's chin if you put enough pressure there and they don't tap. He actually put him out and put him to sleep. Brian Barberena loses by submission, and then found out today he got let go from the UFC, so he's cut from the UFC. I'm sure we'll see him somewhere else, maybe PFL/Bellator, or maybe he goes down to a little bit lower level, gets a few wins, comes back to the UFC. He's a decent fighter. He made a name for himself in the beginning, but yeah, unfortunately he's dropped quite a few fights now. I think that was like his fourth in a row. Yeah, it was his fourth in a row. So it was time for him to go somewhere else and take a look at his career, see what he's gonna do. But yeah, GM3 gets that win. It was actually kind of cool to see, but he puts him out. Herb Dean, calls the fight, but Brian's completely out, and GM3 goes and lifts his legs up, which is something you do when you put someone to sleep, I guess. And that's what you see here. Herb Dean took his legs from him, was like, I got it, and he takes his legs, and GM3 starts walking away. But yeah, he got that win. Pretty impressive one. And yeah, we'll see what's next for him. He was on a 2-fight losing streak as well, so he needed that win too. The women's bantamweight division, Macy Shahbazyan versus Pannie Kianzad. Now, I did pick GM3 in that last fight, so I got that one right. I went with the underdog here. Pannie Kianzad was the underdog, but not by much. It was almost a pick 'em, and I think she was only like a plus 135 underdog. But Macy Shahbazyan made quick work of her. 3 minutes 54 seconds into the first round, she gets this rear naked choke. She fought for the position, and quickly, it was real apparent that Kianzad wasn't going to make it out of this one. Shahbazyan sinks it in, gets the choke. That's the game. That's the night. It's over. And she tapped. She didn't go to sleep. So, moving on to the men's featherweight division, we had Christian Rodriguez versus Isaac Dolgarian. And this was kind of a controversial one because it was a split decision win for Christian Rodriguez. And I did pick C-Rod to win this one. Basically because I don't know much about Dolgarian, even though he seems like a highly touted up and comer, but I didn't know a whole lot about him, and C-Rod has looked impressive in the past, so I went ahead and picked him in my picks, and he got the win. But it was a split decision. It was a close one. He kind of got his ass whooped in the first round, and then I guess he made up for it in the next 2 rounds, and winds up getting the win. A win's a win. It's close. It was a decision. It was a split decision at that. But C-Rod walks away with that win. You can see here, landed a few good strikes, had a full back mount at one point in time. I guess, the judges, at least 2 of the judges saw it for him. So, yeah, he walks away with that win. Moving on to the light heavyweight division, Ovince St. Preux, 40 years old, has not looked good in his past few fights. Fighting Kennedy and Nzechukwu, a lot younger of a fighter, decent fighter, but unfortunately for him, he gets the split decision loss to Ovince St. Preux. OSP looked pretty damn good considering his past few fights. He hadn't looked good at all. He's always throwing kicks out there. He landed this one. That's pretty nasty. Landed some good strikes. Wasn't able to pull off the Von Preux choke, which they named that. It's actually the Von Flue choke, but OSP has done it so many times, and his last name is St. Preux, so it made sense. He wasn't able to get the finish, but he did get the win by split decision over Kennedy and Nzechukwu. And yeah, not much to that except for the fact that it was kind of surprising that OSP gets the win there. I lost that one because I was going with Kennedy, considering how OSP had looked recently. So next fight, co-main event of the night was Brian Battle, Ultimate Fighter winner, versus Ange Losa. This was a weird one. It looked like it was going to be a great fight. Ange Losa, I was talking about how big this dude looked and how ripped he is, but I didn't realize, I don't know why, I didn't realize how short he was. And when standing next to Brian Battle, who I was saying was kind of a lanky guy, Brian Battle has kind of put some mass on him, man, and he looked fucking big next to Ange Losa. And Losa's ripped up and shit and built, but that didn't mean shit compared to Brian Battle being as big as he was. He's in great shape too, but he's just not like as ripped and toned as Losa is. And I know it's funny, I'm all talking about this dude's physique, but sometimes you see guys. That's the thing about fighting, though. You can be looking like a bodybuilder and shit, but you're gonna get your ass whooped. that build does not do much for you. But in this fight, it was a weird one. Brian Battle's looking like he's doing well. I'm pretty sure he's winning this fight. But 1 minute into the second round, you know, he, there we go. The hell was with that? That was a weird delay. But yeah, like I said, Brian was winning the fight, landing good strikes and stuff. But then a minute into the second round, this happens. You know, it's kind of just obviously an accident. It's not like he stuck his hand out there with his fingers open. It looks like he's going in for, you know, maybe they're just closing the range and Brian Battle's trying to lock, you know, tie him up or something, and his thumb kind of gets pressed into Los's eye. Looks like it's kind of up top, but I could see how that would fucking hurt too, and it might fuck with your eye. He looked like he was fine. Doctor comes in and winds up calling the I mean, doesn't barely even give him any time. Like, why don't you utilize the 5 minutes and see if he can fucking recover? I thought they changed the fucking rules on that shit. I don't know. It was weird. The way that it ended was weird. It was dumb. So it was a no contest, accidental eye poke. But it got interesting after that because Brian Battle starts talking shit. Like, it was weird. The ref says no contest, doesn't raise anybody's hands. He literally dips, just bounces right away, turns around, damn near runs out the fucking cage, and leaves these two dudes who are clearly upset at each other. One for getting his eye poked, and the other one for thinking that dude's a pussy because the fight got called. And Brian Battle goes, well, I mean, you didn't have to be a pussy about it. And they just got into it. They had damn near fought again. And it's like, Los is like, I'm like, dude, why didn't you fucking fight like that in the cage? What? He's screaming, I'll fucking kill you. And it's like, bro, you had the chance to. Like, obviously he's not gonna kill him, but you had the chance to fucking put his lights out, put him to sleep. You didn't do it. You got poked in the eye a little bit and you were like, I'm done. I mean, he wasn't even wincing. It's like, if you're doing this shit and you can't open your eye and you're like talking shit, I'd be like, damn, that dude's got some heart. He's fucking, you know, he's like, fuck this eye. I'll still fuck you up. I got a little respect for that. But this dude's not even like eye wide open, more open than my eyes. And fucking, looks like he's fine. There's no visible damage. There's no cut, no bleeding, nothing. And the motherfucker's like talking about killing Brian Battle because Battle's upset and is like, you're a pussy. And the doctor called it though. So I feel like the doctors jumped the gun. I feel like it was just all bullshit. So that's an unfortunate ending for that one. And it doesn't get better because we got to roll into this unfortunate fucking shit. As you can, oh damn, the hell that I spilled, but it's just condensation. As you can see, Marcin Tybura fucking cut on his head with that stupid fucking haircut. I wanted to get him to get his ass whooped just for how stupid his fucking hair is. You can see how crooked that shit is, right? And he says, oh, I'm balding on that side, so I just shaved it off. How about you do something? At least fucking Chuck Liddell had the like kind of mohawk shaved into his head. This motherfucker's like, let's just go side. I don't know, just fucking, let's just do this weird comb over with like shave. I don't know. Fucking, it's annoying. It's annoying. And honestly, I'm not the only one. I was talking about it the second I saw him come out. I was like, the fuck is wrong with this dude's head? John Anik on his podcast this week was talking shit too. I thought it was hilarious. I was so happy because Anik's usually a pretty professional type guy, but he gets a little loose on his podcast and he does what I do. Drinking during the podcast, it is what it is. Sometimes you get a little tipsy and you're like, fuck this guy, and just start talking shit. I really don't get that way very often. After the podcast, when all this is settled, then I'm like, I could talk some shit. But he was drinking a little bit and started talking shit about Marcin Tybura's hair, or lack thereof on one side. But yeah, unfortunately, Tuivasa couldn't keep it together. Fucking gets taken down or falls. I don't even know. Tybura winds up on his back, little ground and pound, fights for position, gets fucking gets his back, puts in the hooks and ties him up, and then he sinks in the choke. I was like, God damn it, Ty, I just wanted to see a fucking shoey. I wanted you to get out of this nasty rut you're in I think that makes, is that 3 or 4 for him? That might be his 4th loss in a row. And I was worried when I saw Barberena got cut for 4 losses in a row. That for damn sure is. But see, his losses are against Cyril Gane, Sergey Pavlovich, Alexander Volkov, beast all the way through, and then Marcin Tybura, who the only thing beastie about him is his fucking ugly ass hair. Just kidding. He beat Ty. It is what it is. So yeah, I don't even want to talk about that one anymore. It fucking pisses me off. I'm just bummed. I want Ty Tuivasa is so dope. Like, he's such a fucking cool guy, and I like watching him fight. I just wish that he would, I don't know. I wish he would work on his defense a little more and stop getting himself in these bad positions, you know. But it is what it is. They can't all be great. But I still like the guy. So good luck to him. Hopefully he bounces back soon. Let's move on to this week's fight. UFC Vegas 89. Once again, the fucking apex. But it's the return of thugrose, Rose Namajunas, finally back fighting. She's on a 2-fight losing skid as well, which is unfortunate. Amanda Ribas is the opponent. I feel like this should be a pretty good fight, but I don't know if Ribas is on the level of Namajunas, and I'm hoping that I'm fucking right about that, because I like Amanda Ribas. Again, go look at her Instagram. You won't be disappointed. May not seem that way when you see her fight, but go to her Instagram. You'll know what I mean. Rose, though, I love this girl. She's dope. Followed her since she was on The Ultimate Fighter. Her husband, Pat Barry, always a cool motherfucker. He was one of the first guys I knew in the UFC and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I just always had Rose has just always been one of my favorite female fighters. And, yeah, she's finally back after a couple bad losses. I mean, the fucking fight against, the fight against Carla Esparza where she lost her belt was just fucking disappointing. One of the worst fights ever, really. Don't know what the fuck was going on there, but we'll talk about that a little more in a minute. The fucking first fight of the night on the prelims is a banger, or should be. Mohammed Usman, brother of Kamaru Usman, former middleweight champion or welterweight champion. Yeah, he's fighting. Mohammed Usman's a beast, Ultimate Fighter winner. He's 10-2 overall, fighting an undefeated fighter in Michael Perkin in the heavyweight division. Perkin is 8-0 and looks like he mostly wins by KO or TKO. But his last couple fights have been unanimous decision wins. But Mohammed Usman usually finishes his fights for sure. I'm going to be made. Yep, already. Last 2 fights, unanimous decision. I've seen him knock some motherfuckers out, though. His only 2 losses, one was by decision, one was by rear naked choke. Yeah, I mean, he's a beast, and I feel like he has potential with his brother doing what he did in the UFC. We'll see how far Muhammad can make it. That's the first fight of the night. Let's see, you got a couple other fights there. Women's fight. Not a lot of big names on this card. But when we get to the 5th fight of the night, Miles Johns versus Cody Gibson. Cody Gibson was on the last season of The Ultimate Fighter, the little comeback season that they did. Bantamweight fight. Oh, actually, the McGregor versus Chandler season. Cody Gibson was on that. He's 19-9 overall against Miles Johns, who's, been around for a little bit in the UFC, 13-2. That should be a decent fight. Ricardo Ramos versus Julian Erosa should be a decent one as well in the featherweight division. Another Ultimate Fighter from that season of Conor versus Chandler. Kurt Holobaugh is he was actually Ultimate Fighter winner versus Trey Ogden. Trey Ogden, I heard him on the Anakin Florian podcast too. Sounds like a cool dude. I've heard his name a couple times before, but I don't really remember him fighting. So that should be a decent one. And that's the main fight of the prelims. So then we move into the main card. Fernando Padilla versus Luis Pajuelo, I believe. Padilla's only had a couple fights in the UFC. He's 1-1 overall, or 1-1 in the UFC, 15-5 overall, 27 years old, 5 KO wins, 8 submission wins, and he's 2-5 in decisions. He lost his last fight, but he won his debut fight in the UFC against Luis Pajuelo, I think that's how you say it. 29 years old. This is his UFC debut. He's 8-1 overall, 7 KO or TKO wins. That's pretty good. No wins or losses by submission, but judging by the way he fights, he's only 1-1 in decisions. Seems like he's going for the KOs and the finishes there. So if Padilla plays his cards right and, you know, gets the right positions, gets him down to the ground, that's probably where he's going to be best at, considering Pajuelo seems like a striker for sure, and maybe he can get him down on the ground and submit him. That might be the best route for him. But Pajuelo was on Dana White's Contender Series, and yeah, he's a striker, so he likes to keep things on the feet unless he's on the ground doing some ground and pound like this picture here. So that should be a decent one there. I'm going with Fernando Padilla on that one though. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe by submission. Seems like the best route. That's my first pick though for the night. Let's move on to the next fight. Billy Quarantillo versus Youssef Zalal. That's a featherweight fight. Billy Quarantillo, 35 years old, 18-5 overall, 6-3 in the UFC, 8 KO TKO wins, 2 losses there, 5-0 in subs though, and 5-3 in decisions. He's coming off a win. Youssef Zalal, 27 years old, 13-5 overall, 3-3-1 in the UFC, 4-0 in KO TKOs, 6 submission wins, no losses there. So this has potential to be a good ground fight. Definitely some position fighting and grappling going on there. 3-5 in decisions, and he's on a 3-fight win streak. Billy Q, yeah, I mean, he's got good striking. He's got, you know, decent hands. Like I said, he's got 8 KO TKO wins. He's only lost twice by that method. He's coming off a win over Damon Jackson by unanimous decision back in August of last year. He's kind of got that win-loss record though. And if you go with that, then his next thing should be a loss. Hopefully he breaks that streak, because I am siding with Billy Q here. I think he's a great fighter, and I think he has good potential. So I haven't heard, I mean, I really haven't seen or heard much of Zalal. So it's probably just my bad or whatever. 4 KO wins though, 6 submission wins, or 6 wins by submission. He has 1 draw against Damon Blackshear back in August of 22. He's on a 3-fight win streak, like I said, but you know, nothing big. Edwin Chavez, Jake Childers, and Vadim, I can't say his last name. Those were 2 TKO wins there, and then his last one was by submission. So, I mean, like I said, this has potential to be a really good ground fight game. And yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see, but I'm going with Billy Quarantillo here for the win. Let's move on to Peyton Talbott versus Cameron Saaiman. This has potential to be a really good fight for sure. Talbott is undefeated in the UFC. I mean, he's only 1-0, but he looked really good in that first fight. He's undefeated overall too in MMA though. 25 years old, 5 KO TKO wins, 1 by submission, 1 by decision. Obviously won his last fight, has won his last 7, his only 7 fights. So he's doing pretty well for himself. I don't know what the big dot is as far as that tattoo goes, but it's a little distracting. It's a little weird. It's like I kind of want to know what it's for, but at the same time, it looks like a massive target. Somebody wants to kick him or punch him there. Cameron Saaiman is a beast. 23 years old, 9-1 overall, 3-1 in the UFC, 6 wins by KO TKO, 1 by submission, 2-1 by decision, and he's his last fight was a loss, unfortunately for him. But Peyton Talbott, like I said, 1 fight in the UFC, came from Dana White's Contender Series, and his last fight was a win by submission in the 58 seconds in the 3rd round against Nick Aguirre. But yeah, undefeated overall too. So it's a lot of pressure. I talk about it all the time. When you're undefeated like that, you want to keep that record, and you want to, make sure that you stay undefeated. But it's a lot of pressure to try to keep that streak going, especially against a good opponent like Cameron Saaiman. 9-1 overall, like I said. He's coming off a loss to Christian Rodriguez, C-Rod. I mean, that's not a bad loss there. C-Rod's doing well for himself. Before that, he was on a 3-fight win streak, though. A lot of TKOs and decisions in there, win or lose. But, I mean, he's only got one loss, and it's by decision. So this should be a pretty decent fight, I think. And I believe I went with... Who did I go with on this one? This one was tough for me. I think I went with Talbott just because, but I don't remember. So I guess we'll see. I'll recap all my picks at the end if you care, and if you want to try to follow them or see how I do with them. I'll have the visual at the end showing everybody I picked for the night. No betting this time. I'm waiting till the pay-per-view. So next fight though, Edmund Shahbazyan, former training partner of Ronda Rousey, versus AJ Dobson, who's been looking pretty good. This is a middleweight bout. Shahbazyan's 26 years old, 12-4 in MMA, 5-4 in the UFC, 10-3 in KO TKOs, 1-0 in submissions, 1-1 in decisions, and he's coming off a loss against AJ Dobson, who's 32 years old, 7-2 overall, 1-2 in the UFC. Not a great record for the UFC, but I mean, yeah. 3-0 in KO TKOs, 2-0 in subs, and 2-2 in decisions. So they both kind of have a even record in decisions there, so it could be a toss-up if it goes the distance. Dobson is coming off a win, though. So Shahbazyan, pretty decent fighter. I mean, he kind of made a splash when he first jumped into the UFC, being Rousey's sparring partner and stuff like that. But yeah, his last fight was a loss against Anthony Hernandez in May of last year. Before that, he had one win, and he was on a 3-fight losing streak before that. So he has fought a couple names: Jack Hermanson, Nasruddin Imavov, Derek Brunson. Those were all his losses, but he has wins over Brad Tavares. Yeah, that's about it, really. But, I mean, he's been around for a minute, since 2018. So, but Dobson, 1-2 in the UFC, that's tough. He is coming off a win, though, his only win in the UFC, and that was against Tefan and Chukwi, I think. It's a unanimous decision win. His last 3 fights were all decisions. 2 losses and 1 win. So he is a Dana White Contender Series alum as well, where he won that by submission. So, I mean, both these guys are kind of looking to turn things around a little bit here and either get on a streak or, break one. So it should be a fairly decent fight. Shahbazyan is up and down, but he can be exciting as well. Let's move on to the next fight. Carl Williams versus Justin Tafa. Now, if you know Justin Tafa, his brother stepped in for him because he was, I guess he fell ill during his last fight. It was like right before he was supposed to fight, and his brother stepped in to fight for him. And so this one and his brother lost, unfortunately. So this one, Justin steps in for his brother to fight Carl Williams. So let's hope that he doesn't suffer the same fate and get finished as well, like his brother did when his brother stepped in for him. But Carl Williams is 34 years old, 9-1 overall, 2-0 in the UFC. Wins more by KO, TK, or actually wins more by decisions overall. 6-0 there, 3-0 in KO, TKOs, 0-1 in submission. And then he's on a 2-fight win streak, obviously, because he's undefeated in the UFC. But Justin Tafa's 30 years old, 7-3 overall, 4-3 in the UFC. It's not a great record, but he's 7-1 in KO, TKOs, no losses or wins in submissions there, but he's 0-2 in decision, so he doesn't want to go to decision. The way Justin Tafa is going to win is if he knocks you the fuck out. That's how he wins. And if he doesn't do that, he's probably going to lose, which is unfortunate because I do like the guy. He's kind of one of those like stoic guys. Like, he doesn't really celebrate a ton. He just knocks you the fuck out, watches you drop, and then walks away with his hands on his hips. It's kind of hilarious. And I don't mean in a weird way. I just mean like he's just kind of like, ah, shit. Well, I just did that. And then he just walks away. Or like, oh shit, the fight's over. But Carl Williams. Ah, shit. I pressed the wrong thing. Ah, well. There we go. Nice little uppercut shot there. His last win was against Chase Sherman, so no joke there. That was a unanimous decision. Man, there's so many decisions here. So if he is able to hang with Justin Tafa, it's not going to look good for Tafa because Tafa doesn't have any wins by decision. So if you're just looking at those kinds of stats, you might want to go with Carl Williams here. But me knowing Justin Tafa and how he is. Here's another shot of Williams. They both are decent strikers. Tafa, though, if he connects, I mean, Williams looks like a big dude, but if Tafa connects, he's gonna knock you the fuck out. So, yeah, I mean, it has potential to be a very quick and a very exciting fight. Justin Tafa with the heavy hands. His last win was against Austin Lane, that was his last two opponents, actually. Austin Lane both times. The first time was a no contest, accidental eye poke, but his last one was a KO win in the first round against Austin Lane. Technically, he's on a 3-fight win streak if you don't count that no contest, with wins over Parker Porter and Henry Hunsucker. Before that, he had 2 losses in a row, both by decision. So this is what I'm saying. KO, KO, KO. He's going to knock somebody out or he's going to lose. That's kind of how it's been for him. But Justin Tafa is a badass, and I like him. So I'm rooting for him, definitely. So we'll see if he can get it done in this one. Now we get to the main event, the women's flyweight division. Amanda Ribas versus Rose Namajunas. I need a sip. Yeah. Amanda Ribas, 30 years old, 12-4 overall, 7-3 in the UFC. Kind of even there. TKOs. She's got 3 wins, but 3 losses as well. 4-0 in submissions, so she's a decent fighter on the ground, and she's 5-1 in decisions, coming off a win. Rose Namajunas, 31 years old, 11-6 overall, 9-5 in the UFC. Oof. I mean, I didn't realize. Well, I mean, that's not that bad. 9-5, but yeah, she's a former champion, so I mean, there's that too. Two-time champion actually. But she's 2-1 in TKOs, 5-1 in submissions, and 4-4 overall in decisions. She's on a 2-fight losing streak, like I mentioned before. Let's look at Ribas first. I mean, she's got some good striking, like I said, but she's 3-3 in TKOs, so you know it could go either way for her with that. Her last win was by Luana Pinheiro. Her last win was over Luana Pinheiro. It was a TKO spinning wheel kick. That was in November of last year. That was pretty exciting, actually. And here's that kick, actually. Yeah, it was, she kind of stiffened her up with that kick. It was pretty nice. She's on, look at this. She had a 5-fight winning streak, including wins over Mackenzie Dern, Emily Whitmire, Ronda Marcos, Paige Van Zandt, and Jennifer Gonzalez. And then she went on this weird streak that she's on right now. A loss, win, loss, win, loss, win. So keeping on that track, if she sticks to the pattern, it's going to be a loss for her. But her last loss was against Macy Barber. That was by TKO, even though it looks like here she's kind of getting the best of Macy, but she did wind up losing that fight. And then, yeah, she has a win over Vivian Araujo, which is this here. So, you know, it's back and forth with her. And I guess that's a little bit better than Rose at the moment. But Rose, like I said, multiple time champion, just a badass when she has her shit together. She does struggle mentally with the, you know, in the fight game. It kind of seems like she's at that point where maybe she might start thinking about getting out the game. She's talked about it a little bit here and there before. But, yeah, I mean, the last fight against Manon Fiorot, she didn't look the best. She didn't look the worst, but she didn't look the best. And I was hoping that she was going to get that win. I kind of felt like she did get the win, but it was such a back and forth type fight. Manon Fiorot has really fucking heavy hands. She's a beast. But so I'm glad that she didn't knock out Rose or anything like that. But I was kind of worried when it came to that. But I was also like happy that Rose came out and fought a decent fight, considering the fight before that was that nasty, just stinker of a fight with Carla Esparza where she lost her belt. It's a shitty way to lose the belt. There's like the least amount of strikes thrown or landed ever in any fight, I think. Something like that. I mean, in any fight that didn't, you know, get stopped quickly. It was just a fucked up fight. I mean, it was a split decision loss for her because Carla didn't do shit either. It was just it was shades of Ngannou versus fucking Overeem, or was it the Overeem fight? Yeah, either way, the fucking just shit. No, Derek Lewis fight. That was just a shitty fight, boring, shitty. So, and of course, them being women, you know, there was even more shit talked about them and stuff like that. But you know, Rose has beat Weili Zhang a couple times for the belt. She's beat Joanna and Jacek, who looked like a world beater, looked like unbeatable for so long. So, you know, she's got it in her. She just has to have her mental game put together. I finished the old fashioned, so I gotta move on to the twisted. But I mean, she's beat Jessica Andrade, even though she lost to her once as well. Joanna and Jacek, she's beaten a couple times. Weili Zhang a couple times. Tisha Torres, Paige Van Zandt, Angela here. I mean, she's got a great, like, strength of schedule. She's fought all the big fighters in her division. Wins and losses over a lot of them. This was that fantastic head kick KO that she first beat Weili Zhang with. And, you know, I just hope Rose comes in here being Thug Rose. She hasn't really been Thug Rose, and she needs to get back to her roots. And I'm hoping that she can just dust everything off, come back in there like the beast she was against Zhang, against Jacek. Just be Thug Rose again. Please. I miss seeing her dominate or seeing her losing a fight and coming back with a spectacular finish, win, and just looking great as a, you know, as a fighter. So as you can tell, I like Thug Rose. Whew, thought I was gonna sneeze. But yeah, I'm a Thug Rose fan, and I want her to come back and get a big win. Maybe make another run for the title, capture it one more time, defend maybe once, and be done. You know, that's fine with me. But let's go out on a high note here. So let's start with this fight here against Amanda Ribas. Get a good run together and see how it goes. But that about covers it. Here's my picks. Oh, I did go with Dobson. Okay. Over Shahbazyan, which is weird. That is a tough one. Why did I do that? I'm an idiot. I think it's because at that point, no, Tafa's an underdog too. What the fuck was I thinking? I should have gone with Shahbazyan. Damn it. Oh well. I kind of put this one together on the fly. I knew I was going with Rose no matter what. She's a minus 218 favorite. Justin Tafa, I like the guy. It's hard for me to go against him. Against Williams, he's a plus 154 underdog. I'll take him on that. Dobson again, I went with the underdog. He's 1-2 or 1-3. I don't know what I was thinking. Shahbazyan's probably gonna win. So there goes that one. Don't listen to me there. Switch that one out. I took the chance, so whatever. Peyton Talbott, minus 148 there against Cameron Saaiman. He's a favorite, so I went with him. Not for that reason, but I just went with him. Billy Q, minus 130, favorite, picked him. And then Fernando Padilla to start off the fight, or the main event. Main card. God damn it. I'm getting to the point where I can't talk. He's a minus 166 favorite as well, with a 1-1 record. That's not bad against a guy making his UFC debut. Yeah, that's it. Those are my picks. Not putting any money on it. Again, when you see the graphic, if I got the money next to the main card parlay title up there, then that means I'm putting money on it. If I don't have the money up there, they're just my picks then. It's my picks for the night, for the main card. So there you go. That's it for that. And that wraps it up for us here on the Going Rounds podcast, episode 90. UFC Vegas 88, done and over with. Tuivasa dropped that one. Damn it. But we got UFC Vegas 89, fucking Apex again. Rose Namajunas making her return after a while being off. I mean, it was September of last year. I guess it wasn't that far, but she's back. And hopefully Thug Rose herself, being Thug Rose, is back. That's what I'm hoping for. Putting it out there. That's why it's in on the thumbnail and stuff. I want her to come back and win in a big way. So let's do it. That about does it for me, though. Thanks again for anybody that's still here watching. Thanks for everybody that tuned in at any point in time. And yeah, don't forget to come back next week for a recap of UFC Vegas 89 and see what the fuck's next, because I don't remember. I'm about done mentally right now, and that's okay. I didn't even go that long. I mean, we're barely approaching an hour and 30, but for some reason I felt like I just talked forever. So I'm over it. Don't pay attention to the clock. It's fucking wrong. I'm going to fix it when I'm done here. The fucking thing's pissing me off. So anyway, yeah, don't forget to come back. Follow all my social media. It's been going down at the bottom of the screen the whole time. Don't forget to like and subscribe, share with a friend, and come back next week. Thursday, 7 p.m., Going Rounds podcast every week. That's it for me. I'm out. Have a good night. Enjoy the fights. Bellator tomorrow. UFC Saturday. Let's go. I'm done. Peace.